I want you to imagine this. You're 16 years old. It's summer. You're on a beach in Nantucket, and this older guy walks up to you. He's charismatic, well-dressed, confident. He talks about astrology, Eastern philosophy, and the hidden structure of the universe, like he actually understands it. He throws parties every night, free beer, beautiful people everywhere, and slowly, people start trusting him. Then the years pass, and somehow this man convinces his followers to give him $4.5 million. He cuts them off from their families, moves them into a compound in the mountains of North Carolina to wait for a UFO, and even convinces people to spend over $100,000 on rocks. Not fiction, not a movie. This really happened, 1980s Manhattan, and the man behind it all, Frederick von Mierers, claimed he was an alien. Today, we're diving into one of the most disturbing real cults ever documented, and honestly, it's scarier than most horror movies.
First things first, the name. Frederick von Mierers. It sounds like old European nobility, right? Like someone who owns a castle and has opinions about wine. But his real name was Freddie Myers. He was a Jewish kid from Brooklyn, raised by his mother and later by his aunt. At some point, he changed everything. The name, the background, the entire identity. He built an aristocratic story for himself from scratch. And somehow, he worked his way into New York's social register, which was basically the official list of old money families in America. So he went from a kid in Brooklyn to being accepted in spaces where people usually inherit their status. And honestly, that level of confidence is almost impressive in a disturbing way. Think of him like a real-life Tom Ripley from The Talented Mr. Ripley. If you know that character, you already understand the type. Someone who doesn't just pretend to be another person, they fully become it. And they become it so well that everyone else stops questioning it. By the early 1980s, von Mierers was showing up on public access TV and radio as a kind of spiritual guide. And this is where things shift. He claimed he was an alien walk-in from the Arcturus star system. According to him, a higher extraterrestrial consciousness had taken over his human body, and that gave him access to past lives, future events, and the supposed cosmic plan for humanity. And people believed him. Not just random people. Beautiful people believed him. Von Mierers had a very specific type of person he targeted. Models, young professionals, attractive people whose confidence was heavily tied to how they looked. And honestly, the manipulation strategy was terrifyingly effective because he didn't insult people or tear them down at first. He did the opposite. He convinced them their beauty meant something special, that physical attractiveness was proof of spiritual superiority, and that they had been chosen by the universe to survive an upcoming apocalypse and help lead humanity into a new era. And that idea hooked people hard because it turned vanity into something that felt noble and meaningful. That's what makes this scarier than most fictional cults. In horror movies, the cult always acts creepy immediately. There are rituals, sacrifices, weird chanting. You can tell something is wrong from the start. But von Mierers made people feel empowered. He made them feel enlightened. That's why people stayed. He called the group Eternal Values, and he built it the same way most real cults are built. First, create community, then add spirituality and secret knowledge, then slowly introduce control. And once someone becomes isolated enough that leaving feels impossible, that's when the punishment starts. In Eternal Values, those punishments were called slamming sessions, basically group humiliation rituals. If someone broke a rule, everyone in the room would verbally attack them for hours. Sometimes it was because they ate the wrong food. Sometimes because they talked to family too much. Sometimes because they showed romantic interest in another member. The reason didn't really matter. The point was psychological control. Break the person down enough that their old identity disappears, and eventually the only identity left is the one the cult gives them.
And the disturbing part is that almost every cult survivor says the same thing afterward. I didn't realize it was happening, not because they were stupid, because manipulation like this is designed to feel normal while you're inside it.
And this is where it starts turning into a scam. Because eventually, von Mierers needed money. He registered the group under a name called Ultimate Fitness Opportunities, UFO. That wasn't an accident. At first, it looked harmless. Books, cassette tapes, and psychic astrology readings for $350 each. But the real business was something he called gem prescriptions. He told followers that certain gemstones had healing properties, that different stones could fix emotional or spiritual problems. Sapphires, topazes, things like that. And people believed it. Then he started selling them at heavily inflated prices through jewelry appraisers who would confirm the value in exchange for a cut. So from the outside, it looked legitimate. One follower, a model named Jackie Adams, reportedly spent over $100,000 on gemstones, on rocks, and she still paid it. Because once you believe someone is an alien prophet who understands the future, spending money like that stops feeling irrational. It feels required. That's how it works. He's estimated to have moved around $2 million in gemstones through the group, and Hoyt Richards, one of the most well-known members and an early male supermodel who worked with brands like Versace and Cartier alongside Naomi Campbell and Cindy Crawford, says he personally gave around $4.5 million over time. $4.5 million earned in real life, given to a man who started as Freddie Mierers in Brooklyn and rebuilt himself as something else entirely. And one line from a former member really stands out. It was amazing how much spirituality cost. And that line pretty much explains everything. And as the 80s rolled into the 90s, the story takes a darker turn. Because von Mierers made two major claims that changed everything. First, he said the apocalypse would arrive in 1999, a pole shift that would destroy civilization. Second, he said an alien spacecraft would arrive at a specific location, a compound. It would take the chosen members of eternal values, place them in rejuvenation chambers, and later return them to Earth to rebuild humanity. And then he led them to a property in Lake Lure, North Carolina, about 40 miles southeast of Asheville. He looked at it and told them this was the exact place, the landing site for the ships. And they believed him. They bought it for around $400,000. Von Mierers died in 1990, AIDS-related complications. He died inside that world he had built, surrounded by what was described as a pink marble interior and mirrors covering the space, almost like he was still performing the identity he created. But here's where most stories like this end. This one doesn't, because the cult didn't collapse when he died. It escalated. The leadership that followed him became even more extreme. They fully relocated to North Carolina. They stockpiled guns, gold, silver, food. They prepared for a rescue that was never going to happen. And over time, the group became isolated, cut off from family, cut off from outside reality. Members were interrogated if they showed doubt. Questioning the belief system itself became dangerous. Hoyt Richards was still inside during this period. He tried to escape twice and failed both times. The property was guarded. Dogs, surveillance, constant pressure. He hadn't spoken to his parents in 12 years. His mother was dying of cancer, and he had given nearly everything he earned to a man who was now dead, a man who had started life as Freddie Mierers in Brooklyn and became, in their eyes, an alien prophet. Then came July 3rd, 1999. Hoyt Richards finally escaped. He slipped past the dogs and got out, and he walked back into a world that had moved on without him. 2 decades gone. The prophecy failed. The UFO never came.
Here's the part that really gets me. And I cover horror stories for a living, so I've got a pretty good sense of what actually feels scary. Every monster in a horror movie has a tell. Something is off. The xenomorph doesn't look human. The Thing fails a blood test. Pennywise shows up as a clown. Even the most subtle horror villains eventually do something that breaks the illusion. Something gives them away. With von Mierers, that didn't happen. That's what makes this different. He just looked like a charismatic man. He told beautiful people they were beautiful. He wrapped it in cosmic meaning, and he slowly replaced every outside influence in their lives with his authority. No jump scares, no visible monster, no moment where everything suddenly becomes obvious, just gradual control, step by step, until it feels normal. And that's the part that's hard to process, because the manipulation wasn't loud, it wasn't chaotic, it was slow enough that you don't notice the change while it's happening. By the time you finally see it clearly, you've already been inside it for years. And that's what makes this worse than most horror movies, because in movies, the horror has a shape. Here, it doesn't. It just looks like a person talking and people believing him.
Bring Me the Beauties is streaming on HBO right now. It's 3 episodes. I went into it expecting a typical cult documentary, something I could just watch and move on from. But it didn't really leave me like that. It sticks with you in a way most horror stories don't. Hoyt Richards, after everything ended in 1999, didn't just disappear from the story. He eventually became a cult exit counselor, helping other people leave situations similar to what he went through. And that part feels important, but also kind of quiet. No big ending, just someone trying to fix damage one person at a time. That's not how horror movies end, but it's usually how real life does. If you want, I can break down how real cult manipulation actually mirrors horror movie villains. Once you start comparing them, it gets uncomfortable how similar they are. Let me know in the comments what real story you want next, because if anything from this proves a point, it's this. The scariest stories usually don't feel like stories at all.